to real, concrete measures for Indigenous people to benefit from the resources that lie beneath the lands that they first inhabited.
Tonight, Jason Kenney leads the United Conservatives to power in the Alberta legislature.
We are filing for an injunction against Alton Gas to halt all operations while we handle our unceded Mi'kmaq territory lands.
Mi'kmaq clan mothers push to assert Aboriginal title in the fight against Alton Gas.
That we could turn around and kind of present the people who live here kind of at a level of recognition that a museum and an art gallery can offer.
And the first Inuk curator of the Iqaluit Museum shares her vision for its future. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgen. The United Conservative Party of Alberta ruled to a crushing victory last night over the ruling NDP. Jason Kenney and the UCP easily cruised to a majority over Rachel Notley's NDP. But the United Conservative Party of Alberta's Indigenous platform was thin on details in the lead up to the election.
The main pledge is support for legal action for pro-resource groups in Indigenous communities, with the creation of a $10 million fund. In his acceptance speech on Tuesday night, Premier-designate Jason Kenney thanked, quote, a growing number of progressive Indigenous leaders across Canada
who want to be partners in responsible resource development. Alberta's government will sit down with you in the spirit of the treaties, in the spirit of reconciliation, to develop real partnerships that can help move First Nations people from poverty to prosperity through resources. We will create the Aboriginal Opportunities Corporation to help First Nations become co-owners of pipelines and other major resource projects. Because, friends, the time has come to move beyond symbolic gestures to real, concrete measures for Indigenous people to benefit from the resources that lie beneath the lands that they first inhabited.
As you just heard in his victory speech, United Conservative Party leader Jason Kenney said that he would sit down with Indigenous leaders in Alberta to develop partnerships in resource development. So what does that mean for Indigenous communities in the province? Joining us now is Alberta correspondent Tamara Pimentel. Alberta Premier-designate Jason Kenney says that his province is going to be open for business and that he wants Indigenous leaders in Alberta to join him. Do you think they will?
Well, the UCP Indigenous platform really focuses on oil and gas. He promises to support legal action for pro-resource groups and Indigenous communities and include them in a strategy to help energy projects and Indigenous people. And there are a lot of Indigenous communities here in Alberta that rely on oil and gas. Marlene Poitras, Alberta Regional Chief of the AFN, released a statement congratulating Kenney and says she is looking forward to working with the new government.
Outgoing Premier Notley was on board with the Trudeau government's commitment to climate change. Kenney says that he's not on board with the Liberals' plan. What do you think that that's going to mean for Indigenous relations in Alberta?
Well, oil and gas has already divided a lot of communities here in Alberta. Some say they need the resources and the jobs, and others say they're trying to protect the environment. And if there isn't a balance between those two, it's going to create a lot more division and conflicts between Indigenous communities, not just in Alberta, but in BC as well.
And what do you think that the new Conservative government in Alberta is going to mean for the stalled Trans Mountain pipeline?
Yeah, so the BC government and environmentalists have consistently opposed the Trans Mountain pipeline, which led to numerous delays. And in response to the delays, Kenney has vowed to cut off oil and gas shipments to BC if they obstruct pipeline construction. He also said he would reduce a number of Notley's environmental measures and go after pipeline critics.
Well, it sounds like a feisty new beginning, I guess, in relations between Alberta and British Columbia. We will be watching it closely. Thanks so much for joining us, Tamara.
Thank you.
In his victory speech, Jason Kenney called on Quebec to help Alberta get its oil to market. He asked if Quebecers want ethical made in Canada oil rather than oil from the U.S. or from foreign dictatorships. Quebec Premier François Legault has previously called Alberta's oil dirty. Today, Legault congratulated Kenney on his win, and the two spoke by phone. Legault said while he can get behind a natural gas project, resurrecting the Energy East pipeline is a different story.
We're open to a gas pipeline coming from Alberta, but right now, honestly, and it's unanimous, all parties have the same position, there's no social.
With that United Conservative election win last night in Alberta, the province is fighting the federally imposed carbon tax, gained an ally. Asked about that today, the federal environment minister maintained the plan was the best way to fight climate change.
One of the most effective measures to take action on climate change and most efficient way is to put a price on pollution. All right.
McKenna was announcing a rebate up to $5,000 for buying or leasing an electric car beginning May 1st.
3 Mi'kmaq grandmothers who were arrested for trespassing on Alton Gas property last week appeared in a Halifax court today. Alton Gas is the company who has a project the women say will harm the river. The judge had the 3 grandmothers sign papers promising to stay off the property. They say they will continue to fight. As Angel Moore reports, a lot has happened at the Alton Gas site.
The fenced area Alton Gas put up as a designated protest site became a tribute for missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Indigenous women put their lives on the line all over the world for the water. And we stand as Indigenous women to protect Mother Earth and the water.
The grassroots grandmothers who put up the red dresses took them down in ceremony.
So the ceremony to take the dresses down from the fence is to give thanks for our sisters in spirit for being here with us.
The grandmothers also reflected on their fight to protect the Sebenegati River. Alton Gas proposed to store natural gas in underground salt caverns, which means dumping the leftover brine into the river. The Mi'kmaq fear it will damage the river.
Our fight and our will to stand and protect our water here in Nova Scotia, and to stand with others that are standing up for clean water.
The leader of the Nova Scotia Green Party was on site and says he is in solidarity with the Mi'kmaq people.
We have actually treaties, if you would just follow them. They were clearly said, you're welcome here as long as we share and keep our land for our children.
The grandmothers hope to be heard in court.
We hope the judge sees with his humanity and is guided by our actions and sees that our actions are all to protect the water.
Yeah. The 3 grandmothers who were arrested last week for trespassing appeared in court Wednesday. They agreed to stay off Alton Gas's property, but they are still going to protect unceded Mi'kmaq territory.
We are filing for an injunction against Alton Gas to halt all operations while we handle our unceded Mi'kmaq territory lands.
They are making a claim for Aboriginal title to the land. Meanwhile, Alton Gas tore down the structure known as the Straw Bale House. It was occupied at the Alton Gas entrance, blocking access to the work site. The grandmothers say that will not deter them.
And the land and the water is destroyed, and they'll never be able to clean the water. So in Nova Scotia, we have a chance to keep that from coming here.
Court resumes in June. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Halifax.
The community of Shoal Lake 40 was turned into a man-made island more than 100 years ago in order to provide the city of Winnipeg with a clean water supply. In June, a ceremony will be held to officially mark the opening of long-awaited Freedom Road. A dedication ceremony is set for June 6th. It's been 4 years since the federal government kicked in $20 million to help pay for an all-weather road. The city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba each provided $10 million. Over the past 100 years, a barge has been used to get people and goods on and off Shoal Lake 40 in the spring and summer. In that time, many lives were lost as people had to cross on unsafe ice to get to and from home. A young woman is sharing her journey as she wages a battle against cancer. That story is going to come up after the break.
But first, tomorrow's weather forecast. Here's a look at Thursday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. 12 above under sunny skies for Halifax, 12 in rain in Fredericton, 7 above in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, +3 for Nain and Cartwright, 13 with showers in Montreal, snow and +3 for Chibougamau, 19 above with showers for Toronto, 14 and rain in Ottawa. A rain-snow mix and a high of 8 for Thunder Bay, sunny and 10 in Sioux Lookout. -5 with snow for Churchill, 11 above for Puckatawagan and Thompson. +14 in Winnipeg and Gimli, 15 above with showers in Dauphin. 13 and rain in Regina, 16 under sunny skies in North Battleford, +14 in Meadow Lake, La Ronge, and Buffalo Narrows. Welcome back. Cancer is a terrible disease that has affected each and every one of us in some way or another. This next story is about a young woman who shares her journey with us as she battles the disease and made a big decision regarding her treatment. APTN's Tina House has that story.
When I'm dancing, it's like I'm asking the ancestors to do their work through me. Especially when you hear that music with the drum and you hear that language and you hear the chanting, you know, with the singing, that you just really feel the ancestors dancing through you.
For Madeline McCallum, dancing is her life. Originally from Île-Lacroix, Saskatchewan, McCallum is Cree Métis. The 36-year-old has lived in Vancouver for many years. Along with performing, she also teaches the next generation to dance and provides self-empowerment workshops. She's also a successful model and has walked the runway in fashion shows many times in her career. But despite all the success she's had professionally, she's also had to face a lot of challenges, and this latest challenge was a battle to save her own life.
Come here. Hi, Pretty. This is Pretty the Chihuahua. She has been my therapy dog since March.
Since she was 17, McCallum started noticing small cysts in her breast. In 2016, one particular cyst started to grow, and that's when she went in for testing and was told that it was a tumor.
When you think of the word tumor, you instantly panic, and I would have got it cut out right away. But then with the process of more tests and then trying to get into a surgeon right away, and then fear as well, because if you think you're going to get this huge lump cut out of your breast, it's really scary. So I had a lot of fear around it in that first year.
Her tumor started out by 5 by 6 centimeters and quickly grew to 15 by 17 centimeters within 4 months. She had a lumpectomy surgery in January of 2017. She was given the all clear. But within the next year, she felt a strange tingling sensation and the lump began to grow back. In July of 2018, she went for a second surgery, a mastectomy.
And then I stopped all that negative stuff that I was doing earlier in the year. And I said, okay, I'm gonna survive this. I'm gonna be a warrior about this. I'm not gonna be a victim to this anymore.
She was advised by her oncologist to begin radiation treatments after the mastectomy. But then her radiologist told her that with her particular cancer, the radiation would only bring it down a slight percentage for the cancer to reoccur.
The possibility in 10 to 20 years is that it would bring back another type of cancer, or it would bring this cancer back with a vengeance. And they also said that would ruin the reconstruction that I'm in because it forms a scar tissue in the area and they would have to go and surgically cut that out and then reconstruct the reconstruction.
So she had a big decision to make. She said that after weighing her options, she decided not to take the advice from her doctor and do radiation, but rather choosing instead to heal herself through traditional medicines and ceremonies.
And you can tune into tomorrow's show for part 2 of Maddie's journey with cancer. Well, we're always looking to hear what you have to say. Here's how to continue that conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptnnews. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest Indigenous news.
It was all politics all the time. Today on In Focus, we had reaction to the Alberta election, a Manitoba MLA who wants 4 designated Indigenous seats created at the legislature in Canada's Middle Province, and a researcher who thinks all that money that flows through Indigenous affairs, some of it could be going direct to First Nations men, women, and children through a modernized treaty annuity. Here's some of the highlights, starting with reaction to the Alberta election.
No, not surprised. But I do believe that we have our work cut out for us now, and we must stay the course around ensuring that Indigenous people's rights are respected and that treaty is upheld. That's primary to Alberta. That is what Alberta is built on, Treaty 6, 7, and 8. And so we'll have to remind our new friend, Jason Kenney, around what that looks like, the relationship.
Michelle, what are your thoughts on the results?
Well, I am disappointed. Obviously, the Alberta Liberals did not get in, so that's concerning to me. I think for the bigger picture is that now we can hold Jason Kenney to account, and hopefully, as much as I loved Rachel Notley trying to speak for us, I think we should have our own.
By doing this in Manitoba, and I don't know if this is valid for other provinces or not, but in Manitoba, it's something that I think would allow empowerment and transparency. And by having it separate from parties, but allowing the Indigenous representative, they could still join cabinet if they were offered, or they can form a party with 2 or 4, but it provides all sorts of benefits insofar as asking questions in question period, rights to ask questions at committees, and so on. So it is it's an empowering process.
And we looked at, for instance, the value of an acre of farmland in the Red River Valley in 1880 was $1. So for $5 annuity for Treaty 1, Treaty 2, that would buy you 5 acres of land. Okay, so at that time, the land value of the Red River Valley was just about $1,000 an acre. So a $5 annuity modernized would be $5,000. And I should say the land value has increased significantly since then, too.
You can watch the entire episode of today's In Focus by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca, and you can catch the replay tomorrow morning here at 11 Eastern Time.
And as we head to break now, here's something else we're working on for you. Picking back up in northern Alberta, sunny and 15 for High Level and Fort McMurray. 23 above under sunny skies in Medicine Hat, 21 in Lethbridge, 11 and showers for Vancouver and Tofino, 9 with rain in Bella Coola, 13 in rain for Fort Nelson, 8 in rain in Prince George, -2 with snow for Old Crow, 10 and snow for Dawson. 14 above in Fort Liard and Trout Lake, +5 in Yellowknife, -13 for Sax Harbor, -5 in Inuvik, 4 below in Colville Lake, -16 in Repulse Bay, -18 for Cambridge Bay, -9 and snow in Iqaluit, -18 in Resolute.
Welcome back. For the first time, Iqaluit's museum has an Inuk as a curator, as our Kent Driscoll dropped by to meet the new boss and find out what she has planned for one of Iqaluit's most important artistic spaces. Here's that story.
Jessica Kutrick is the new curator of Iqaluit's museum. Born in Iqaluit, raised in Ottawa, and with family in Iqaluit, she covers a lot of ground. That's what she wants her museum to do, too.
And I think my hope is that more people come into the museum, more people in the community come into the museum, and just feel like this is a place for people to come in and learn more and share information.
Here's an Iqaluit secret. The museum gift shop is the perfect spot for someone looking for art on a budget. Kutrick sees that as a strength.
Because we have a gift shop, lots of artists come in to sell to us so that we can resell their items in the gift shop. And I feel like that's such an asset for us, that we can turn around and kind of present the people who live here, kind of add a level of recognition that a museum and an art gallery can offer.
The current display at the museum is by Aluktu Ipali, and Ipali was known best for his cartoons, not a traditional Inuit art form. Kutrick is planning to expand the museum's reach like that as well.
So I'm really hoping that one of the next exhibits that will be here in the museum will be art of film. And I think that's something maybe that we don't think about that much, or maybe because it's difficult to find on your own, kind of like how to access it and how to see it. So I'm really hoping that the museum can help so that people can see more Inuit art animation or Inuit art film.
Jessica is the first Inuk to curate this museum, the only museum in a city surrounded by art and artists. And with her new ideas, a valuable piece of Iqaluit's art community is getting a breath of fresh air. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Love any story with art from Nunavut.
No kidding. The sealskin owls were adorbs.
And Kent, you're coming to visit us soon, so
bring
keep that
some.
in mind. That's your APTN National News for this Wednesday. News anytime. Visit our website, aptnnews.ca.
And you can also download the APTN News app for the latest updates. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night.
And I'm Dennis Ward. Good night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.